The world's most successful investors talk about compound interest. The world's top business coaches talk about sowing and reaping. The world's leading psychologists talk about identity shaping behavior. The world's greatest strategists talk about wisdom over knowledge. Every single one of these principles, without exception, appears in a book written thousands of years before any of them were born. The Bible is the most read, most translated, most distributed book in all of human history. Over 5 billion copies. No other book comes close. And yet, most people who own it have never once read it as a wealth manual. They read it as religion, as history, as moral guidance, and they completely missed the financial and success blueprint hidden inside it. Today on PageWealth, we are going to do something we have never done before. We are going to open the most powerful book ever written and pull out 4 deep insights about wealth, success, and human potential that were there the entire time. Stay with me, because insight number 4 contains a principle so specific, so practical, and so completely overlooked that once you see it, you will never read this book the same way again. God already told us how to get rich. We just did not follow the steps.
The first insight comes from one of the most well-known parables in the entire Bible. Most people have heard it. Almost nobody applies it financially. The parable of talents, Matthew chapter 25. A master is about to go on a long journey. Before he leaves, he calls 3 servants and gives each of them a sum of money called talents. To the first servant, he gives 5 talents. To the second, 2. To the third, 1. He leaves. Time passes. He returns. The first servant invested his 5 talents and turned them into 10. The second invested his 2 and turned them into 4. The master rewards both of them generously and says the same thing to each. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much." Then comes the third servant. He buried his talent in the ground. He kept it safe. He returned it exactly as he received it, not a single coin added. The master took it from him and gave it to the one who had 10. Most people read this as a spiritual story about using your God-given gifts, and it is that. But look at it through a financial lens and something extraordinary emerges. This parable is a direct instruction about money, investment, and multiplication. The master did not reward the servant for keeping the money safe. He did not reward him for being cautious. He did not reward him for preserving what he was given. He punished him for it. The principle embedded in this parable is one of the most important financial truths ever stated. Money that sits still loses value. Money that moves and multiplies creates more money. The servant who buried his talent thought he was being responsible. He thought safety was the right strategy. He thought preservation was enough. But the master's response reveals something that every wealthy person in history has understood. The stewardship of money is not about keeping it. It is about growing it. Every dollar sitting in a bank account earning nothing is a buried talent. Every skill you have that you are not deploying to generate income is a buried talent. Every opportunity you are sitting on because the timing does not feel right is a buried talent. The parable does not say, invest wisely and you will be rewarded. It says, invest at all, and the one who does not will lose even what they have. Apply this today. Identify one buried talent in your life right now. A skill you have that is generating 0 income. A sum of money sitting completely still. An idea you have been sitting on waiting for the right time. The parable does not say, wait until conditions are perfect. It says, deploy what you have been given, now, with what you currently hold.
But the parable of the talents is only the beginning, because the Bible does not just tell you to multiply what you have. It gives you the exact system for how wealth accumulates over time.
And this system predates every financial model ever built by thousands of years. That is next. Quick question before we go deeper. What is one talent, one skill, resource, or opportunity that you have been burying instead of investing? Drop it in the comments right now, because naming it is the first step to deploying it. Quick pause. If this is already hitting differently, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and helps more people find this video. Now back to it. The second insight is one most people have quoted without ever truly understanding its financial depth. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Most people hear this as a moral statement, a warning about karma, a reminder to treat people well. It is all of those things, but it is also the most accurate description of compound interest ever written. Think about what sowing actually means as a financial principle. A farmer does not plant a seed and harvest a seed. He plants one seed and harvests 100. He plants in one season and harvests in another. He does the work now in a period where nothing visible is happening, and the return comes later, larger and multiplied. This is exactly how compound interest works, exactly how investing works, exactly how building any long-term asset works. You sow time into a skill today and reap income from it for years. You sow money into an investment today and reap returns for decades. You sow consistency into a business today and reap scale in the future. But here is the part of this principle most people never sit with long enough to understand. The same verse continues, "For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap." The word whatever is not accidental. It applies in both directions. You reap what you sow, but you also reap what you fail to sow.
The person who sows nothing, who invests nothing, builds nothing, plants nothing, does not simply stay still. They fall behind, because everything around them is compounding while they remain static. Proverbs 13:11 reinforces this. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Little by little. Not a windfall, not a lucky break, not one big moment. The Bible specifically warns against wealth built quickly and specifically endorses wealth built gradually through consistent accumulation. Warren Buffett discovered this in the 20th century, and the financial world called him a genius. Solomon wrote it down in the 10th century BC, and most people read right past it every single Sunday. Apply this today. Identify one area of your life where you have been expecting a harvest without planting anything. Then identify the smallest possible seed you can plant today in that area. One action, one investment, 1 hour of deliberate work. The harvest does not come from waiting, it comes from planting. Start today. But sowing and reaping tells you how wealth grows over time. The Bible goes even further. It tells you specifically how to protect that wealth once it starts building. And the strategy it describes is one most financial advisors have been teaching for decades without ever crediting the source. That is coming right now. Proverbs is perhaps the most practically useful book in the entire Bible for wealth and success, and it is also the most consistently ignored. Proverbs 21:20. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. Read that again, slowly. The wise person stores, they accumulate, they build reserves. They do not consume everything they earn. The foolish person devours all they have, every month, every year. Income in, consumption out. Nothing left, nothing built, nothing growing. This is not just a spiritual observation. It is the most accurate description of the financial behavior of most people alive today. The average person earns money and immediately converts it into lifestyle. A better phone, a nicer apartment, clothes, entertainment, food. Every increase in income is immediately absorbed by an increase in spending.
Economists call this lifestyle inflation. The Bible called it foolishness 3,000 years ago.
Proverbs 13:22 goes further. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Not just for their children, for their children's children. The Bible is describing a multi-generational wealth-building strategy, the kind of long-term thinking that most people, even wealthy people, never implement because they are too focused on the present generation. And then there is Proverbs 22:7, one of the most sobering verses in the entire book. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Debt. The Bible identified debt as a form of slavery thousands of years before any economist wrote about leverage, liability, or financial obligation. Every credit card, every unplanned loan, every purchase made on borrowed money for something that does not generate income is a voluntary reduction of your freedom. The Bible does not say debt is always wrong. It says the borrower becomes slave to the lender, and that observation about the psychological and practical weight of owing is as true today as it was when Solomon wrote it. Proverbs is not a collection of inspirational quotes. It is a financial operating system written for people who want to build lasting wealth and protect it across generations. Apply this today. Look at your last 30 days of spending. Are you the wise person who stores or the foolish person who devours all they have? Identify one area of consumption that could become a seed instead. One expense redirected toward an asset. One purchase delayed in favor of a deposit. That one shift repeated monthly is the difference between building across generations and starting over every year. If you're still watching, you're the kind of person this was made for. Which Proverbs verse hit you hardest just now? The one about storing, the one about generational wealth, or the one about debt being slavery? Drop it in the comments and tell me why. I want to know which one landed. This is the one. The principle so specific, so practical, and so completely overlooked that once you see it, you will never read this book the same way again. Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. And then Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Most people read these as purely spiritual instructions. Seek God, get wisdom, be righteous. But look at the structure of both verses. In both cases, something is sought first, and as a result of seeking that thing first, everything else follows automatically. The Bible is not saying ignore wealth. It is not saying money is unimportant. It is saying there is a sequence, and most people have the sequence backwards. Most people seek money first. They pursue income, profits, success, recognition, and they assume wisdom, character, understanding, and integrity will develop along the way. History is full of people who got rich this way, and history is equally full of those same people losing everything through bad decisions, broken relationships, legal trouble, or simply not knowing what to do with what they had built once they had it.
The Bible says, seek wisdom first. Seek understanding first. Build the internal architecture first. And then, wealth, when it comes, has somewhere solid to land. Proverbs 8:18 gives us the direct promise. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. Not temporary wealth, not flash and vanish wealth, enduring wealth. The difference between wealth that lasts and wealth that disappears is almost never about how much was made. It is about the wisdom of the person holding it. Think about every book we have covered on this channel. Psychology of Money taught you how to think about wealth. Atomic Habits taught you to build the behavior.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad taught you to unlearn bad programming. Think and Grow Rich taught you to engineer the obsessed mind. 100M Offers taught you how to build something people cannot say no to. 48 Laws of Power taught you how the game actually works. Can't Hurt Me taught you to callous the mind through discomfort. Every single one of those books is a chapter of wisdom. And the Bible told us to get wisdom first, thousands of years before any of those books existed. The sequence was always there. Seek wisdom, build understanding, then, and only then, watch what follows. Apply this today. Ask yourself one question honestly. In your pursuit of success and wealth, have you been seeking wisdom first or money first? If the answer is money first, that is not a condemnation, it is information. Pick one area of wisdom to actively pursue this week. A book, a mentor, a principle to study deeply. One deliberate investment in understanding before action. The sequence the Bible describes is not a spiritual abstraction. It is a practical operating order. Get the foundation right and watch what gets built on top of it.
8 videos in on PageWealth, and today something different happened. We did not cover a modern bestseller. We did not analyze a business framework or a productivity system. We opened the oldest book in most people's homes, a book billions of people own and most have never fully read, and found that every principle of wealth, investment, multiplication, and wisdom was already there. The parable of the talents told us money is meant to multiply, not sit still. Sowing and reaping told us wealth builds gradually through consistency, not suddenly through luck. Proverbs told us to store, not devour, to build across generations, and to understand the debt reduces freedom. And the principle of seeking wisdom first told us that the internal architecture determines what the external results can hold. God already told us how to get rich. The steps were never hidden. They were simply waiting to be read differently. If this video gave you something real, something you are going to carry differently from today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The next video on this channel covers a book that most people consider purely academic, but underneath the surface, it contains a blueprint for human behavior, influence, and success that changes how you see every interaction you will ever have. Subscribe to PageWealth so you do not miss it. I will see you in the next one.